Our third speaker works for an organization called Breakthrough in India. Breakthrough is working to build a world in which all people live with dignity, equality, and respect. We'd love to hear your story. Thank you, Priyanka.
Hello, everyone. My name is Priyanka, and I come from New Delhi, India. And as Sarah said, I work for an organization called Breakthrough. And most of Breakthrough's work is going into the community, challenging gender norms around gender-based discrimination and violence against women and girls. To be honest, when I was asked to talk about my story, I was a little nervous because I did not get into the development sector by design. In my previous avatar, which wasn't very long ago, about 2.5 years ago, I was an advertising producer. So I used to make ad films for mainstream advertising, for cars, toothpaste, whatever you can think of. Anyway. I was in a part-time role at that time, and I was working from home because my daughter was very young. And about 2.5 years ago, I met this friend who used to work at Breakthrough, and we were just talking, and the organization was looking for someone to come and do some additional work for them. So I said, she said, why don't you go and talk to them and see if something comes out of it? And I mean, are you interested? Because I was already working somewhere else. I said, you know what, I'll go and have a chat. And I went in, and they gave me the work. It was just some freelance work at that time. And then in about 2 months' time, they offered me a full-time job in their media team. And that's what I do right now. I actually head the media team at Breakthrough, and my team is responsible for making all the communication, all the media products, whether it's films, it's radio, it's any kind of print, or any kind of IEC material that we then use in the community. So, and the reason I'm talking about this is because, as cliche as it may sound, I think looking back, that was the turning point in my life. And that is the truth, because Breakthrough was really my introduction to the world of social change. For those of you who were at the opening plenary the other day, hearing President Carter speak about India and the problem of disappearing girls. We work in a community in Haryana, which is actually one of the states with the lowest sex ratio in India. And it's, I think, last I checked, it was 834 girls to 1,000 boys. I want to share a story with you that is actually brought that statistic, or made that statistic real for me. So as part of my work, I go into the community a lot because the way we work is that we go into the community, we try to talk to people and try to understand, because we don't want to come from a space of not understanding the culture or the requirements of the community. So as part of this whole, whole interaction, I was in Haryana in a school with another colleague, and we had a mobile van going on. And there were all these young boys and girls who were taking part in this exercise. And it was all fun and games. It was a really good day, and everything was going very well. And after the interaction and after the actual activity ended, me and my colleague just started talking to a group of young girls. And they were very young. They were like between the age of 9 to 10 years old, as old as my daughter is. And we were just asking each other, what is your name? I was telling them, and they were all very shy, mischievous, full of life, energy. It was fantastic. Anyhow, so there was this one girl, and after a lot of them kind of told me what their names were, there was this one girl, and I asked her in Hindi. I said, "Aapka naam kya hai?" Which means, what is your name? And she turned around to me and she said her name was Kafi. So I kind of thought about it. I was like, oh, that's a strange name, because Kafi in Hindi means enough. So I was like, oh, that's a strange name. But anyway, didn't really say anything about it at that time. Everything ended. And then once the children had gone away, my colleague turned to me, and she had been working in the community for a very long time. And she said, did you understand why she was named Kafi? And I said, no, I didn't. And actually, I wanted to ask you that question, that, I just thought it was a strange choice for a name. And she said, that's because in Haryana, a lot of families name their daughters Kafi, which is enough, Antim, which is the last one, Bateri, which is again colloquially enough in their language, and Sima, which means the border. So these are just some of the names that they use, symbolically just maybe sending a message out in the universe that they don't want any more girls. And it happens across. And that little girl, and I just felt so sad. And coming from a family of 3 sisters, I'm the eldest of 3 siblings, and, my parents have always been, really good to us in terms of coming from a middle-class family in India, having access to education and everything else that you do. So it was heartbreaking, and that experience kind of stayed with me for the next few days, and I was thinking about it, and I kind of felt it was deeply unsettling. It was disturbing, but I also felt humble, and I kind of felt like, in some ways, I started checking my privilege. I started thinking about all the times I'd fought with my parents for really stupid things, which really did not matter anymore, and I just felt like, there are so many girls out there who don't even have the right to have a name that means something more, that means something positive. And I think over the course of the next 1.5 years, I've had many such interactions. But what I've understood is, why is it so important to do the work that we do? Why is it so important to go into the community and urge parents to actually value their girls and also show them some love? That's really what it is all about. It's, of course, about giving them a brighter future. It's about giving them access to opportunities around education, health, nutrition, not discriminating against them, but it's really about making them feel loved and not making them feel like they are supposed to be the last one in the line of not wanting to have any more girls. So that, I think, for me, when I look back, was one defining moment, because while it was just that one incident, it kind of changed or shifted something in my thinking. In my journey at Breakthrough, I've often thought about the contribution that I'm making, because the organization is making a huge contribution, and I know that. I mean, if I really start talking about Breakthrough's work, there's a lot to say. Having said that, I really started thinking about, okay, what is my own contribution? And I struggled with that a lot. Also, coming from a space where I hadn't been in this sector, and I used to hear stories of all my colleagues and also the fantastic people here. In fact, the first day I came, I think I did talk about it, about how I kind of felt like, okay, I don't have that one profound story, or I don't have a real lived experience of why I'm doing the work that I do. And my journey only started when I actually joined this organization. So I used to struggle with this a lot, and I never really finding an answer. And then one day, during a team meeting, of all places, somebody narrated a story, and that was really something that stayed with me. And he said that, and I think it's a fictional story, but it's just a way of explaining something. And I call it the starfish story. And what he said was that, there was one day, a lot of starfishes washed up upon some shore. And there was this one man who walked to the shore, and he started picking one starfish at a time and putting it back into the ocean. And there was this young boy who was sitting in a corner, and he was kind of watching this man thinking, I don't know what he's doing. So he walked up to him and he said, you know what? There are so many starfishes, and if you keep throwing just one back at a time, how are you going to save the lives of all of these? And the man just turned around and said, you know what? I have made a difference to that one starfish's life. I have saved the life of that one starfish. And in a strange way, I found that extremely powerful. And I think what I understood was that sometimes in the work that we do, we get very caught up in numbers. We get very caught up in, oh, what is the impact we are having? And because the magnitude of the problem is such, and also there is that much to do. But I think when we're talking about closing the distance, if we can just remember that if my work or doing what I am contributes to a larger picture in some way and makes a difference to somebody's life somewhere, that's really what counts, because it really matters, and that really is enough for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I am sure you've been following the empowerment of women globally with the Me Too movement.
Yes.
I'm curious if that has changed any attitudes with people you've been working with, or as you chip away at this challenge, or as you throw one more starfish into the ocean.
It's a great question. I think we get asked this question a lot, being in media and primarily working on digital. And I have to say that I think the difference has been made in making the movement more visible. In the work that we do, a lot of Me Too's were already happening in the community. But it's just the fact that, and we were part of the whole piece as well. We've got a very strong digital presence, so we've been talking about it. We've also taken it now to what now and moving forward, why now and all of those things. But what I really wanted to say was that, for us, when we're talking about whether it's made a difference, yes, it's made a difference, because it's just brought, it's magnified how large the problem is, and it's made it visible. And also the fact that mostly in urban communities, I think the impact is a little more direct. In communities, because in India, a lot of people don't have access to digital technology, and a lot of areas that we work in, women don't even have access to a mobile phone, let alone having a Facebook account or coming in there. And so, in fact, imagine, we've had this global movement with so many women coming out and talking about them having been a part of Me Too, but there are so many out there who haven't even been able to say it. So I think on the ground, the impact is a little more indirect, but I think digitally and in the urban communities, we have seen an impact in the sense that people are talking about it a lot more. There are stronger conversations, and there is this strong force to actually make something happen. And where, in fact, yesterday I was at the panel and somebody said, it's not a movement. Yes, we call it the Me Too movement, but it's actually the movement that has risen from it is really where the actual impact is. So yeah, in that sense, in the urban spaces, we have seen a lot of more, I think it's just rejuvenated energy in wanting to fight this. Yeah.
Let's hope the energy moves to the more rural
So
spaces.
I really do hope so.
We have a question for you, Priyanka.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Priyanka, for the good work you're doing in India. And it is really heartbreaking for the story of these young girls being given those kind of names. I am curious whether you have conducted research to know when they are grown up, how do these names affect them? And what are you going to do to help them reconcile the psychological effects?
So I'm sure there is a lot of research available. We at Breakthrough haven't primarily conducted research like that, but we've worked with a lot of girls who then have become adolescents, and then when we work with them in the community, it has a detrimental effect for sure. But more than that, it's also understanding that in a lot of these cultures, these names are normalized. So it actually starts with the girls first not even realizing, because the girl that I met, she didn't think there was anything wrong with it, she just knew her name was Kafi. So a lot of our work is actually around first trying to speak to the girls and making them just understand that this is not normal, and then working with them to see if in one-on-one peer-to-peer interactions or interactions with our trainers, we can find a way to resolve. But we're not an organization that works on psychological or mental health issues, so we're very mindful about not going out there and claiming something that is something that we are not experts at. Well, what we try to do is we try to then find peer groups in the community, we try to create a support systems, and then trying to understand what are the different things that we can do. We try to connect these girls to some of these spaces. A big part of our work is around creating safer spaces for adolescents in the community. And the safer spaces concept is really about having a space where they can go and talk about things that they are feeling without feeling stigmatized or feeling any kind of burden of not being able to say what they want to. And a lot of those things do come out, and when our community teams do come back and talk to us in the office in Delhi, it is a challenge though. It is very, very difficult, because sometimes it's also difficult to even understand the level of internalizing that happens. So.
Right.
So I hope I've answered your question, but we do try, in whatever is in our capacity, to try and work with them to see what is it that we can do. Yeah.
Have them own their own names in a new way. Yeah. Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yes.